Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing the Totally Should've book tag. This is a series of 11 questions, and as always, please feel free to disagree because this is all everybody's opinion, and that's where the fun begins. Totally Should've gotten a sequel. The Archive series by Victoria Schwab. Very specifically, I wanted a third book to this series. While the second novel, The Unbound, was absolutely fantastic and it did close off its story, this totally should have gotten a third book. There were definitely more stories to be told in the world of the Archive, and while we did get a kind of novella follow-up sequel that was really, really short and was basically just one scene, I think we totally should have gotten a third archived book. Totally should have had a spin-off series. The Bartimaeus series by Jonathan Stroud. There is a fourth book that is a prequel, but very specifically, I wanted a spin-off series about Bartimaeus and his time with Ptolemy. The relationship between Bartimaeus and Ptolemy is clearly one that defines Bartimaeus and who he is as a djinn very intensely, and while we get glimpses of it in the third book, Ptolemy's Gate, I really would love to have at least one book that delves into the relationship between Ptolemy and Bartimaeus, shows us some of the political intrigue and danger that was going on while Bartimaeus and Ptolemy are developing their friendship, and how Ptolemy is really pushing the boundaries of what it meant to be servant and master in the spirit and human relationship. An author who totally should write more books. I don't think Pierce Brown has any intention of not writing more books, but just in case, he better write more books. I know he's been busy working on this fabulous trilogy of awesome, the Red Rising trilogy. He is basically now an auto-buy author for me, and if he were to never write another book again, it would actually kill a part of my soul. It would make me so sad, because the quality of storytelling that has come out of this series is astonishing. And because of that, he's basically become an auto-buy author, so I almost don't even care what genre he's writing in next. I will buy it, I will read it, and I will probably enjoy it because he's so good, and he totally needs to write more books when he's done with this. Please. A character who totally should have ended up with someone else. I really can't say anything because this involves books 3, mostly 4 of this series, but Selena Sardothian, girl, my ship went down in flames and I'm so not happy right now. Totally should have ended differently. The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. Not necessarily a case of where the girl should have ended up with someone different, but more like, I really wanted Raoul to die. Because in the book, he irritated me so much. I can sort of deal with him in the show, and yes, I acknowledge that Eric, the Phantom, is basically a raging psychopath a lot of the time, but Raoul irritated me. He irritated me so much that I was like, can he please just get killed? I will have Christine with no one and be happy as long as Raoul can die. Unfortunately, even if you've just seen the show, you know that he doesn't die, and so I was kind of hoping he would kick the bucket, and that was a little disappointing. Totally should have had a movie franchise. They've never even made a movie of the girl who circumnavigated Fairyland in a ship of her own making, but this needs to be a series of animated films, because this is just meant to be. It is meant to be a series of animated films because it's fantastic storytelling, and I think animation would suit this story more than live action. Totally should have had a TV show. The King Killer Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. Just seriously, this would be a really cool TV show, and I'd be so down for it. As long as you had a killer actor playing Kvoth. If you get a really good actor who's really good at oral storytelling, you've nailed this series. And I just think this would make a great TV series. I mean, if Game of Thrones can be doing as well as it can, why not this? Totally should have had only one point of view. I actually couldn't think of anything for this because I tend in general to be pretty selective about what I read, so when things have multiple points of view, I'm usually in the bookstore scanning at least one chapter of each of those POVs so I can figure out whether or not I'm going to be digging it. And so I've never actually experienced a book with multiple point of views where I didn't really at least find all the points of view interesting or think that it only needed one. Because even in things like A Song of Ice and Fire, where there are many, many points of view, I enjoyed at least more than one, so I can't sit there and say, oh, it only needs one point of view. No, it really needs all 20. Totally should have had a cover change. Now, I don't have the particular edition I want the cover to change, but it is the Cormoran Strike series by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. I own, as you can see, the UK paperbacks, because the US edition of The Cuckoo's Calling has a completely different cover. And my issue with it is that they then went to the UK cover for The Silkworm and also for Career of Evil, despite the fact that typography is different in the US. But in terms of visual aesthetics, the UK version matches more. So looking at The Cuckoo's Calling like being all awkward next to Silkworm and Career of Evil just upsets me. So the US should really change and go to the UK cover just because aesthetically it matches and it looks nicer. Totally should have kept the original covers. The Across the Universe series by Beth Revis. We have all just gone on and on about how ugly that Shades of Earth cover was, and just seriously, just why? And the redesigns I think are hideous. I'm sorry, I don't like them. I think the originals have their problems too, but at least they were pretty. Totally should have stopped at book 1. And Ember in the Ashes by Saboteur. Frankly, I would rather that book had never been written, but it's not a standalone. Why? Just why? But that's it for me today, you guys, and so until next time, cheers.